I was 29 years old when I saw my dead husband standing outside my bedroom window. And if someone had told me years ago that the man I buried would return in the middle of a storm, I would have laughed in their face, but grief has a way of turning impossible things into terrifying possibilities. People say time heals loss, but time only teaches you how to carry pain quietly. I still lived in the old wooden house we bought, but every corner of that house held pieces of him. The coffee mug he used every morning, the old black coat hanging by the door, the books he promised he'd finish. Reading. I kept all of it because letting go felt like killing him twice. Daniel and I had the kind of love people dream about. We were poor but happy, dancing in the kitchen, sharing silly promises about children and growing old together. Then one rainy night the police called. Highway accident. Dead on impact. They said his face was damaged too badly to see clearly. My husband at 24 and spent the next 5 years learning how to survive alone. Then came the night everything changed. It was raining hard, the kind of rain that makes the whole world sound haunted. I woke at 3:12 in the morning to tapping on the window. Deliberate. Tap, tap. I looked up and froze. My dead husband. Same face, same dark eyes. I screamed and fell off the bed. When I looked again, he was gone. I told myself it was grief playing tricks, a nightmare too real to explain, but deep down I knew what I saw. The next night he came back. This time I was awake waiting every light. I forced myself to the window. His lips moved like he was whispering something. The next morning, I found muddy footprints outside my window. Real footprints. Ghosts. I touched them with shaking fingers and felt terror settle into my bones. That afternoon, I went to Daniel's grave and something made my blood run cold. The soil looked disturbed, like someone had dug there. I drove home in panic, locked every door, and sat trembling until my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Silence, then breathing, slow, heavy, and a voice I hadn't heard in 5 years whispered, "Elena, I'm coming home." It was Daniel's voice. The phone slipped from my hand just as 3 heavy knocks slammed against my front door. Boom, boom, boom. I looked through the peephole. No one there. Then I heard footsteps upstairs. Inside my house, I wanted to run, but my legs wouldn't move. My bedroom door was open, though. I knew I had closed it. The curtains moved as if someone had just passed. And on my pillow lay Daniel's silver wedding ring. The same ring buried with him. I couldn't breathe. I ran from the house and drove straight to my friend Mia's apartment. She tried convincing me grief was making me imagine things, but when I showed her the ring, her face changed. "Didn't they say they identified him by this?" she whispered. I nodded. "Then whose body did you bury?" she asked. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I went to the police. They treated me like a traumatized widow chasing ghosts until an older detective quietly pulled me aside. Then he told me something I was never supposed to know. There had been inconsistencies in the accident report. The body had been badly burned. Identification had been uncertain. The case was rush closed. And why was he stalking me now? I returned home before sunset and found the back door unlocked. I knew I had locked it. On the kitchen table sat 2 cups of coffee, one still warm. A note beside them read, "You kept my side of the bed empty." "Thank you," I nearly screamed. Someone was inside my house. I heard floorboards creak above me, and before I could react I spun around. Daniel stood there, flesh and blood, older, thinner, but alive. I staggered backward. "You're dead," I whispered. He smiled sadly. "That's what they wanted you to believe." He told me after the crash he had survived, but was taken by men connected to something dark. At his warehouse job, something involving smuggling and stolen money, he ran to protect me. For years he hid, waiting for the people hunting him to disappear. Believe him, but something in his eyes felt wrong, colder, stranger. Then he said something that made terror return. My blood froze. This wasn't a reunion. This was obsession. He stepped closer. I came back for us. But the Daniel I loved would never have smiled the way he smiled then. Rain poured as I stumbled through mud until I found an old abandoned cabin. Inside were photos, hundreds of photos, me sleeping, me crying at Daniel's grave, me inside my house, years of surveillance. My husband hadn't come back. Something broken had returned wearing his face. He appeared in the doorway soaked in. "Rain, I never stopped loving you," he said. I backed away trembling. "Love doesn't do this." He looked almost hurt. Then headlights cut through the woods. Police. Mia had called them when I never answered. Daniel fled into darkness. They searched all night but found nothing. Weeks passed. I moved away. Tried. Starting over. But some nights I still wake at 3:12. Last winter I got an envelope with no return address. Inside was a photograph of me sleeping in my new apartment. On the back, in Daniel's handwriting, just 4 words. And sometimes when rain taps against my window late at night, I don't look anymore. Because once you see the dead return, you pray never to see them twice.